My name is Darcy from WCC, and I'm here with Ken, also known as Zabuton-chan. And so today we're going to have our next series in our exhibition match with Shiba-Chan. So I will be playing today against Koucha of Fukui Pros, one of our good friends. And so Ken, do you want to tell us a little bit about Koucha? So something notable about his tops is that the one in 2017, he used Love Light Sunshine, which is actually what is legal in English at the moment as well, like the same deck, only the first two boosters out. And so his deck for the Nagoya Neo Standard is actually what WCC has more or less used. I think our build now is a little bit different, but that was definitely something that we took inspiration from. All right. Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with what decks we're using, and so you can see what cards as we go, we've got the links to both of our decks as we're playing in the description, so feel free to check those out while you watch. And let's get started with the first game. But the matchup is me using Sunshine 8 standby versus Door Gate Slime, which I think is actually a pretty bad matchup. Sunshine, if I'm being honest, I think that Sunshine can't deal with compression, especially memory compression, and the deck doesn't have access to stock swap either. So the only way to do it is like touch compression is with the Rico 3/2, but that doesn't really prove to be strong enough when fighting both stock and memory compression. Yeah, you can do it in the front row. It just doesn't have hand on core at the moment. I don't know Koucha's list, so I don't want to assume he's just playing the standard list that we see a lot of people playing. Because I know Koucha is a bit more creative sometimes with his deck building. I don't really want to take a risk because it needs another character to be on board first. Although, admittedly, playing the 3/5 chaser in front row might not have been a great idea because, yeah, I get a stock for it, but I'm pretty sure it's just going to die. Like, there's just so many ways for it to die against Slime. All their level 0s seem to get not gigantic, but big enough, it feels like, because all of their cards are minus 500 power. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's the minus 500. So yeah, I lose a card here, but I still have the back row, the 1175, so it's not bad. I mean, triggers a Shimakaze Kai, which is pretty good for me because he's already out 2 of them, so he can't search it. Also, I think. I don't know his deck list. And clocking the ruby's pretty good here because it means once they level up, my standby becomes really good. Yeah. Pardon? Yeah, well, the other option is passing. We're just playing standby spawning. Passing because he chose not to attack on his first turn, so to be honest, there's many things that it could mean, but I think the most obvious answer is that he's not ready to fight level 0. So if I can prolong it and to make a stronger board at level 0, maybe that's an option. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Like, I don't want to attack with the 1/1 just because I'm not confident, and I don't really want to take a risk. Because if it gets outed, it does feel pretty bad. I think this is probably the most underrated card in the entire deck, the level 0 slime. Because I think that because you have the gate trigger to add climaxes back to hand, a lot of the time it's not actually that good to go back to your hand, because level 2 and upwards, you just not that good. Because you want to be attacking for 2/2/2 every turn. So if you're playing early plays and winning board, then it becomes not as strong.
Yeah.
To play climax.
Is this remote fight? Yes. This is a pre-recorded remote fight game that we're commentating live over.
He also discarded a Shimakaze Kai with the Chloe. So that's showing that he's already playing 3, which to me is already a bit strange.
Yeah. Oh, you can hear me now. Great. Thank you.
Alright, easy level up.
Do you want to level first in this matchup?
I actually do want to level up first, because he's out so many Shimakaze Kai, and all my cards are 7/5, which is like 500 bigger than his level 1 combo. So I really want to level up first.
Okay.
Leveling up second's not that bad, but I like leveling up first.
Yeah.
Here I'm actually not going to clock draw and just have 4 cards in my hand after I play some cards. The reason is, like I said, my cards are just bigger, so I don't really feel like my board is going to be threatened, so I don't have to commit many cards. And that's one of the reasons why I really like Sunshine, is that because everything has hand on core, the quality of my hand doesn't really matter that much, because you can discard those cards to keep your other strong cards alive. And I think if you can clock draw less, it means that your own game is going to last much longer, because it's kind of like just not dealing yourself damage. So it's pretty cool.
That being said, Sunshine does have issues gaining extra cards in hand a lot of the time. So
yes,
choosing to not clock here seems pretty maybe hasty to make the decision. Like, I would understand the next turn, but right now it feels like it would be not too bad to clock draw, seeing as you went second.
Yeah.
You are down a few cards compared to your opponent here.
I am only also out 2 climax, which not clock drawing, of course, it's more likely to be more climax for my deck to cancel. So
yeah.
I'm pretty cool with not clock drawing again. Oh, and I level the level 1 Rico, which is a card that I don't really need in this matchup. I run it just like for standby decks.
Just so you can at least trade over your opponent's character.
Yeah, it's like the only costless card that's strong to play later on in the game, besides level 0 Dire.
Yeah.
Because it can fight for field in 2 lanes, pretty much. And he level red here, which is pretty interesting, I think, because it means that he won't be able to use yellow, at least for this turn, the 1/0 fairy thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what he would plan on using red for later on, other than just being able to play doors from hand and the level 3 like heal finisher.
Yeah. Actually, that red card's not a card you see in Slime very often, is it?
No, but it's quite good. So he's searching a Shimokai here, which means he's running 4. So now I'm a little bit concerned. So he's running that along with the that level 0 that he leveled. So it's clearly to fight Saikano and Dao to create better numbers. Using the Shimokai, of course, to attack over things in Dao, but also minus 500 to like the strong level 0s in Saikano. And then the level 0 they put into level can minus 1000 power, so that also kills the runner and then Ricky from Saikano as well if there's another minus 500. Which is really strong versus Saikano. So he's just going to try and refresh this turn for himself. There's no reason not to here. He's already had quite a few climax.
I talked to Koucha after the game, and he said that he actually has a third combo in his hand here, but chooses not to. He chooses not to play it out, instead playing the Shimakaze Kai, which allows him to answer 2 of your characters, which puts you quite far down on hand size. It also sort of punishes you for not clock drawing on the previous turn. How do you feel about that?
I don't really mind. Because I'm at 1-1 and only 2 climaxes out, I feel pretty confident about cancelling this. Like, my compression's already pretty good without having to do much. So I feel like I can clock draw the next turn if need be. It's not a problem. And he added the 1-0 fairy, which is good. It's a really good card if you want to save hand. He's saw a soul trigger, so now he gets the easy option to side. It's still 2 damage, which is great, and leaves him taking 1 less damage the next turn, as opposed to having an open lane. And he adds the level 2, which is going to be important for fighting for board later on.
Yeah.
So here, he's actually showing 7 climaxes out, and I have a 2k counter in hand. So because it's 7, I feel pretty good about using the counter here to attack, to be bigger than him. But then also the bottom card, I think it's a climax. So I want to be able to make sure his Shizu doesn't go to memory. And so yeah, so I cancel. So I'm at 1-3. I only have 3 hand, but I draw a clock draw, that's 5 cards. Hand on core. I don't need to play any cards to field. So I feel alright with it.
That 1-1 you're from the first set has 3 or more plus 2k, so it's more or less the same as the 1-1 Chico. Are there any points in your games where you feel like they act differently?
Very rarely, but yes. So earlier, because I had the 1-1 chicken back row at level 0, that was a yo. I would probably move it forward, just because it has hand on call. So I'd feel more comfortable putting it in. But I think that's pretty much the only time. And so now brainstorming is like something that you probably don't do too often in Sunshine, to be honest. You only really do it when you know you're going to hit. Like, you reveal top from Rico. It's like a climax you can add. But here I want to do it to get through my deck. This is just a strong way of getting to next deck. While plussing. And I hit 2, so that's quite good.
I think a lot of the time when I see people playing Sunshine, including myself really, I don't really value going to my second deck during level 1, and I'm more concerned about saving up stock, but that doesn't seem to be your concern here.
No, it doesn't, because I've already got the board I want, so I feel like my stock is not going to be important for resources, only really important for getting compression. And of course, it's better to go straight to second deck for better compression. Like, I use 2 stock to go to a next deck. Like, that's pretty good considering like the amount of cards in my clock. And the top card's climax, so just attack for the 1 first. Yeah, like I said, I want to deal. When I play Weiss, I think about how can I deal 2-2-2 every single turn, except for like maybe the final turn or like where I have to make a play where I just need to catch up. I feel like 2-2-2 is just something that is small damage, but something that can add up quite quickly. So that's why I really like winning board with 1-1-7-5s. Because that's an immediately direct lane for 2. That's just something that I think about. I know everyone's a little bit different, but it's something I think about when I play.
So is that 8 climaxes in your bin, by the way?
It is 8, yes.
And how many cards do you have in your deck right now?
This turn will leave me, I think, with 3 cards in deck.
So you do...
which is something that I was fine.
Okay.
Because I have good hand and I have good clock. My stock is not terrible. And I won't refresh my clock, so it'll be sacrificing 3 damage for good compression, which is something I was alright with here. And so Koucha's at 1/6, which means he can early play if he wants. The yellow Shinon, not the Shizu level 3.
Yeah.
But he would get no value from healing, and it would probably be a waste of just playing it like to attack over something, considering it has hand on core at this point.
Yeah.
And so clock for blue. So maybe if he had yellow earlier on, that this turn might be better because he could play the level 1 fairy. Like that's just a really strong card, and it would be pretty good now, I think.
That being said, anything that he reanimates out of the fairy right now would probably not be big enough to fight with your board, so he most likely wouldn't get the memory effect.
Probably wouldn't get the memory effect, but I'm pretty sure he has a Shizu in hand still, so he will have access to a top check at some point. So if you see it's a soul trigger, it is an option to sign for 1 and get the memory.
Yeah. So he masks here and searches for another level 1 Shizu, which I'm assuming he wants to send to memory so I can early play his level 3 Shizu somewhere down the line.
Yeah, he really wants to get the memory up right now.
And searches another mask. I think this is the sequence that Koucha likes calling the Hina logic. He gets to pull multiple cards out of his deck.
This is God, I miss Hina logic. This is like one of like the strongest things to do. Like one of the reasons to play this deck, I think, is just you can add 1 Chloe from your level 1 combo, go into next refresh, and then like immediately rip out like 4 cards or something. Feels pretty insane.
Yeah, it's very strong regardless of what your deck compression state is, because it opens up a lot of options while only taking out non-climaxes, unlike a brainstorm or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really good. So Koucha actually, when we were talking to him in Japan, he actually said that Hinology was his favorite deck of all time. Hey, well, me too, man. But do you see any similarities between this slime deck and the way he's built it with Hinology?
Well, aside from the pulling cards out of your deck thing, I'd say that they do follow the theme of decks which kind of bring you convincing wins when you win with them. You feel pretty helpless against Hinologic when Hinologic wins. A lot of the time, especially if you're not if you're unsure what you're doing against it. Quite similar to how slime can compress enough that you don't feel like any damage is going to stick past a certain point. Does unbanned Hinologic beat Data Live?
I think absolutely.
I think it would.
I think absolutely would.
Something I would like to play and probably cry about sometime.
Yeah, really? I'll play with. Oh, I will play unbanned Hinology anytime someone asks. So here he got to play a door, which was the trade-off for him leveling red versus leveling yellow.
Yeah.
So he clock drew. I'm assuming he probably drew that. He definitely drew that from the clock draw.
Yeah.
So I guess it was pretty good to level red in the end. Hina vs Saikano. We were talking about Hina vs Saikano before. I forget who I was talking about it with. I think maybe Saikano.
I think Hinologic would win in untimed. You can just send all of your opponents, and then all of your opponents stuff to memory, and they'll eventually die from refresh damage and not being able to do anything. Hinologic can just attack like once per turn, and like
Actually, do you know what? I reckon Hinology would win. I think that you can't heal loop in Saikano versus it because your Kato just goes to memory.
Everything just goes to memory.
Too much memory, man. Just kill yourself. You have gold bar as well.
So now that you've refreshed and taken a little bit of damage, you're on 2-3, healing down to 2-2.
I actually have 2 of the earlier play in my hand.
Yeah.
I was considering playing another one here, but it didn't really seem worth it because I didn't want to have to play over one of my 1/1s. Not a play over it, but take up its spot on the front row.
Yeah, you would struggle to find a timing to use the 1/1 if you pushed it back and then wanted to move it back up as well. I think it's
and this is another case of me being able to do 2/2/2 every single turn. Something that I really rate. And here I put the back row Yoshiko down. I probably don't have to play it down because I feel pretty good about triggering a standby here because of where my compression is. I know that the Yo would lose power by not having a back row, but I think either option is good. But I think the main reason here is to guarantee the 500 because he's shown to use more than normal amount of cards in Slime that do minus 500. So now 8k power has become a lot more relevant to me than 7.5.
Yeah, so you can play down to Shimakaze Kai and your characters will still be 500 higher than whatever the level 1 combo can pull off. But you trigger a standby here and play over the back row. Yeah,
I actually get the back row instead of another front row card. Just because I have the 2k counter in hand. So it's 9, 5, and then 10k. And so I think that these are actually really good numbers and that I don't really need another front row attacker.
When you say that the number's really good, what card are you thinking that Koucha's going to play next turn?
The level 3 Shizu early play. Because it's 10-5, I'm 9-5, so 2k counter gets over. And then a minus 500, I still get over with 2k counter. And then if he wants to Shimakai and then put that that extra pump into the Shizu, that's going into a card where I have hand on core versus a card that's actually bigger than it already. So I feel confident that I will always be able to kill a Shizu if I do this.
Okay.
So he triple cancels as well, which is a little bit annoying for me. And so now he does get yellow. He clocks a Shinon.
I suppose you're not too concerned about the 2k support that he grabbed earlier in the game with the level 1 combo?
No, I'm not that concerned at the moment. No, I'm not that concerned.
So Koucha now has 3 colors. I think he can choose quite a lot of things, choose out of a lot of things to do right here.
Yeah, he actually has like a lot of options. Like brainstorming seems good here. Just attacking 3 times also seems alright.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be extremely compressed off this turn. He's going to be gaining stock, and he already has a lot of memory. Sorry, not stock, mark. Cool. So it's gonna, if this snowballs for me, it's gonna be really hard for Sunshine to win, I think. I think Koucha's in a very good spot at the moment.
Yeah.
Which might not, doesn't look like it's an incredible spot, he's, triple crashing. But actually, his compression is just going up and up. And it just becomes much harder to deal damage as the game goes on.
So he plays another climax there, making the 2/2/2 that you're quite happy to make every turn. That seems pretty strong. But I think he sides here.
Yeah, siding him would make sense. He's already stuck 3 damage, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
Siding for 1, pretty good. And he added the counter, so now I can be a bit more concerned about his early plays.
Yeah.
Because he has a reusable counter. Alright, so here I only get 1 cancel, which is fine. But notably, the level 0 Yo refresher is in my clock, which is a pretty good card. If I got to it, like if I stayed at 2-6, then it would get to a point where, I'd probably really need that card.
Siding confirms getting memory as well. Yeah, that's right. He doesn't have to worry about revealing the sub card.
Yeah, that's right. And I drew a standby for turn, which has no use anymore because I've developed my back row. It's only good now to trigger on 2nd or 3rd attack. Because my board's already established. But I decided to play over one of my 1/1s with another healer. It seemed like a pretty good opportunity to play a healer. It pays out a climax as well as getting a stronger board. And of course healing.
What's the reason you fetched the Brainstorm here off your Rico? Seeing as
I think that my level 0 quality was not that great.
Okay.
I think that if getting a Brainstormer, when you only have a few cards in hand, it's not that bad because it can be used for hand encore. But if you need to use it to fix deck state, you would rather already have it in your hand versus salvaging it. Because if you are using it to fix your deck state and it's already in your hand, then there becomes scenarios where the Rico assist can grab the level 0 Yoshiko or level 0 Yo Refresh or the level 0 Chico that mills 2. Something like that. Siding does confirm getting memory as well, that's true. Crashing does take a risk of it.
Earlier you said that you've already developed your board and you don't want standby, but it wasn't difficult to use the Brainstorm once you've developed your board, as you need to play over it after using the effect.
Yeah, no, it is. Basically what you're doing is, if you confirm Climax, then you're basically just playing over a card to play over again with whichever card that you wanted to get. Which is fine, That's just how this deck is built. Dealing damage does seem kind of hard. Should never play Weiss against people whose name starts with K. Like Ken. They just cancel. But now he's in that very compressed state that we were talking about. Oh, I can't hear Ken.
At one point you decided to... Sorry, no. Last time you decided to early play heal a second Yor, which made a direct attack for 3, which I believe he cancelled as well. But did you pay out a Climax with that Yor?
I did.
Okay.
I think that if there was no Climax there, I don't think I would have...
Yeah. I think it
would
have decompressed you for 3, while also making an attack that's more likely to cancel. I believe it would, unless you paid out a Climax there, it probably wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I did have a Climax, so I thought it was worth it.
Yeah. So after triple cancel, he early play heals to remove the Climax from his clock pretty confidently. Double hits.
So now 5-6 now.
So after the game, Koucha said this was probably the biggest misplay turn that he made over the course of 2 games. And he was obviously going to heal with the early play, but decide what he was going to do for the rest of the turn based on his Brainstorm hits. And because he hit 2, he decided here that he wanted to get rid of the rest of his deck. But he messes up a little bit and leaves a bunch of about 7 or 8 cards at the bottom of his deck with only 1 Climax, which we'll get to the results of later. But he does say that in hindsight, the best play was probably to reuse another Brainstorm on this turn.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes.
That's a good idea. So something to note is that Koucha only uses 1 of the Akatsuki clone when it's sent to waiting room. So normally when this happens, people run 2 or 3 copies that normally find it easier to get one. They can just step on it, use that effect to mill out your deck. But it seems like because he only runs 1, it's going to be a bit more troublesome.
He also has the red level 0 Rimuru to move Climax cards out of his deck in the early game anyway, so I guess that would be a competing spot. And because he values the red one to create the color, I don't think he really has any space to make the last one.
No, and look, the red Rimuru it's actually a really strong card. I was using it for quite a while as well. I thought it was really good. So it's fair enough that he has decided to only use 1 Akatsuki. Yeah, so now he absolutely needs to go through his deck. He's discarded the Climax with the slime.
Yeah.
So now he's out 7, I'm pretty sure. So
1 left in that thick stack of a deck.
Yeah, big stack. So
I believe if he could have played over the Brainstorm, he would have been able to catch it back.
He definitely should have played over the Brainstorm. But he didn't. So what's something that he could do now? Well, he's playing against Standby. So you know that there won't be a global soul push on next turn. But a way to possibly minimize damage is siding a whole bunch.
Yeah, he could side, but I don't believe it's enough to make a difference. Depending on where his climaxes are, he might still just take 6 and go up anyway. So here he decides to front and prioritize damage instead. Seeing as you're on about 6 stock, I think sticking damage here does put you on a better clock for him.
But his attack order was a bit strange. He chose not to attack with the Shimakai first. I think that I would definitely attack with the Shimakai first as well.
I think he's not super concerned about you using the backup, or rather, if you have the backup, he's anticipating the Ruby backup. And if you do use a Ruby backup here, it's probably better for him, as he does lose the card, but he'd rather you mill out his deck for better compression.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Did you have the Ruby counter there, actually?
I didn't know.
Okay.
But not cancelling was kind of annoying, because now there's 3 climax in my deck, and in like 5 cards, I think. So anything I do here is awkward. Like paying 2 to refresh with the Yo is annoying, because it's, I've lost my compression for my clock. Or I could put it to bottom with a Hanamaru drop searcher, but then that risks getting stock swapped. Or I could just move something to front row and trigger it, which is also not awful, but or there's this Chica here that mills 2. I could potentially mill a 1. Or I could brainstorm, but all these options just kind of feel bad. I think this was my turn where I made the biggest misplay. I don't know what I would have done differently, but I would have not done the thing that I did, which is move this climax to bottom. I think that this is a fine play, but it makes yourself vulnerable to stock swap. I think that I already have 6 stock. It's going to be 9, and there is 3 climax here, so I'm probably going to trigger at least 1.
Yeah.
But it does make myself very vulnerable, I think. So there's 1 cancel in the way, so now everything here is going to be sticky.
Stand by Mirai ticket here.
Yep, I think that's the fine card to get out.
Okay, so you're more focused on ending the game, seeing as you can stick the damage this turn, as opposed to maybe using Dire to survive another turn more.
Yeah,
I don't have your deck.
I only run 1, and there it is.
Yeah.
But it's a nice soul trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the Ruby to pump the Yo 1k across his next turn, so it's 12-5, which is quite a good number. It's not.
It's the same number as a level 3 Shizu with a 2k support behind it. So it means that your opponent has to put a bit of extra work to get rid of your level 3.
Yeah, that's right. And so, Koucha lost his clock compression, but he actually still has. He's got 10 stock, and I think he's got memory. So it's pretty good. Whoa, Barga! Hello, Barga.
So what? Aside from getting stock swapped here, what else do you have in mind?
Not much. He needs to stick 5 damage without me cancelling.
Yeah.
Which 5 damage isn't a lot, relatively speaking, but I do have 2 climax in my deck, so
Yeah.
He has to stock swap me, and then I have to. He has to hit a whole bunch of climax still, because my compression won't be that bad. I think.
So there's the 3 stock swap.
So it's really just
pretty. It's pretty heavy in a lot of decks, but because Slime was able to build up a lot of stock this turn, I don't think he feels very hindered by that stock cost right now. And there go 2 of your climaxes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, if I had double triggered that last turn, I think he still would have stock swapped. It would just have ended up being better for me. And so that's one of the reasons why I took that play, where about putting the climax to bottom. About I can put at least 1 there, and then there's either gonna be 1 or 2 climaxes. If there's 2 climaxes there, I get stock swapped, and it's not that great. Or there's one there, and it's alright for me. Either way, it's kind of annoying. It was annoying that I was put into that situation because I still think that there's no clear answer of what I was meant to do. What would you have done, Ken?
I think I would have reset my deck. You would
play the refresher?
I would have refreshed, yeah. Reason being that I definitely get to dodge the 1 point from refresh, which is quite heavy right now. And it deters Koucha from using a stock swap there, which does have the worst outcome in this kind of scenario. As in, you might still die from your climaxes being positioned badly in the case that you use the free refresh, but you're less likely to encounter this worst possible scenario, so I would avoid that right now.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good. Sounds reasonable.
So that the free refresh that we're talking about is the level 0 Yor that flashed on the screen earlier. It's a 002k, and when you play it, you can pay 2 stock and put all cards in your waiting room back into your deck and shuffle it. So you can't use it all the time because it costs 2 stock, but if you're just close to refreshing, you can shuffle back all your waiting room and basically perform a refresh without taking the 1 point penalty. It's pretty handy in a deck like this where you don't have very much deck control. If you cancel a lot, you can use it to reset your deck. Yeah, just handy. It's also insane to some level that you can salvage at any time off Rico as long as it's in your bin, being a level 0.
Yeah.
Just think of it as a heal. Yeah, pretty much. It's a heal, so long as it's used correctly. So
kind of like Fate when Fate was really good. I mean, you can kind of think of the 2-1 refresher as just a 1-cost heal.
Yeah, it feels a similar role. A bit different in that you can use it at any point in the game, as long as you have the full cost, obviously. But in the sense that they both dodge refresh penalty and generally don't screw up your compression, they're pretty good. So Koucha double hits Brainstorm here, fetches his Shimakaze Kai, so he can go over your Miratica Yo. Stops you from burning next turn unless you use resources to protect it or keep it.
I would definitely just pay 3 on call here, though.
Yeah,
I have stock.
Any other choice.
It's a worthy card.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Time to cancel.
Take 2.
And this is scaling over now, but I can just encore it.
Yep.
Or I can counter it.
So that puts you to how much?
Puts me to 14-5.
14-5. But you take the damage.
Yeah, still take the damage. And then
and that's it.
Then keep taking the damage. Alright.
Well.
So something about my Sunshine deck is I use 3 different counters. And they all serve different purposes. But I've always wanted to run the 2-1 Dire Leafer counter. But I've never found room. And I think that it's something that might be useful in that type of scenario. And just like trying to survive that 1 extra turn.
Is there anything that you want to say about the game before I ask a few questions, I suppose?
I think that it's an unfavored game for Slime. For Sunshine, sorry. I think that Slime's just much more powerful with compression at the moment.
Change your name to Kasi.
Changing my name to Kasi, maybe.
I think there's a giant in One Piece.
Spell my name Daxi with a whole bunch of K's in it. Yeah, look, I think that's a hard matchup for Slime. For Sunshine, sorry. I think that because Koucha didn't have to spend that much resources on healing, and he was just given a lot of time, canceling, I guess, but he was given a lot of time at level 2, which helped him further develop his resources, which is pretty strong. I think that early play healers, they're really strong, but something that not everyone might understand about them is that you're paying 2 stock and you're removing a card from your clock, so you're actually decompressing yourself by 3 cards every time you heal. So yeah, you're kind of prolonging the game, but if you go into a next refresh, it will hinder you. So then I think that because he got to spend so much time at 2 without healing, it really benefited him for the remainder of the game.
From me, I was pretty, I would say even against that brainstorm. The turn where you brainstormed at level 1 and then used Yoshiko to go through your next deck. You said that you wanted to refresh at level 1, but I think the way that you put cards in your waiting room that turn actually overall made it worse in terms of your deck compression. I think it would have been better if you didn't choose to use those cards that turn and instead just attack 3 times or something. That way, you would have had more stock, and in the long run, probably had more compression. And even if the compression is the same, you had more resources to play with, which would have left you in the game a bit longer. You're also less worried about turns like that stock swap turn. You can play around with your resources a bit more and avoid really bad outcomes, I think.
Okay. I think with the brainstorm, that fetches you cards, and then I played on top of it with a card that will also fetch me cards. So in a way, I didn't really lose that many resources, but another play definitely would have just been to stay at level 1 and just attack.
Yeah.
I think either option is pretty alright. This way it was just guaranteeing me to hit my next refresh. I think that if I'm playing against a deck that has your chance to play Climax every single turn, staying at refreshing at level 2 for my first refresh can sometimes be a little bit risky, just because you know, if you're at level 2, you know, things haven't gone that well clearly. And just this deck doesn't have a way of preventing damage really, like some other strong decks in today's format do.
Right. Yeah, that's it from me. So if we don't have anything else, we can move on to the next game.
Hey, Jim Lowe says you look hot today, man.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that.
Yeah, only 2 games tonight. Only 2 games.
Right.
Alright, so I'm using Slime now, and then Koucha's using Sunshine, which was
flipped.
Unplanned.
Yeah.
Although both of our lists are different. We're using the same Climax lineup with the same combos, but the way we went about our decks is a little bit different.
So based on your mulligan and the first turn play, you've taken out the level 0 red card that Koucha plays in his list for the runner plus Ricky package.
Yeah, that's right. I think the runner is really strong at the moment because against stuff like Data Live, which won't be attacking many times at 0, and Grisaya and Saikano, which all have very low power at level 0, I think that it's a pretty strong like time to play free runner.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. They are good sleeves.
It's a very good play very good turn by Koucha.
Yeah, it's a really strong turn.
He basically guarantees that his cards, or at least one of them, will come back after a tri-lane. And he gets his 1-1 in the back row as well. I think Koucha really wants to value his card advantage here, as it's more difficult to keep cards in the matchup as Sunshine than it is as Slime.
Yes, I agree.
What is that?
The 1-1 is something that he uses instead of the Hanoko Yo that I was running. So it gets a level and 3/5 power when it versus a cost 0 character. So 8/5 level 2, which is pretty good because it means there's no side attacks.
Yeah.
No side attacks that deal damage.
It's very effective against Saikano, which doesn't want to side attack with its level 1 combo, but doesn't want to jump into it obviously because the main way of gaining advantage is by keeping that card alive, either on hand or on field.
I'll quickly point out that I had 2 Rickies in my opening hand and I discarded 1 for mulligan, and then I had a third one. That's why I clocked it for turn, because I put myself to 0-6, so there's no way that I'll need Ricky next turn for forcing myself to level.
Yeah.
And so here, actually, I think it's a really tough decision on which card to get. Because I really want to fight the level 0 Chicas, but there's just honestly no good way of doing it without being level 1.
What are the cards that you considered searching at this point?
A level 0 Chloe, because I already had 1 in hand as well. So I was considering playing 2 and then moving either my Ricky or my runner to back row. So at least attack over 1. And also the Brainstormer, just because I hadn't had 1 yet. It's a good card.
Yeah.
And the level 1 combo, because It's a card you need in this deck.
Yeah.
And here's the Chloe. The Chloe, I think, might be like one of these like top 3 strongest cards in this deck. I think it's really, really strong. It's a strong attacker at level 0. Gets you this other card that goes like compression equal, like 1 stock for 1 memory, and just rips a card out of your deck. I think it's pretty good.
Imagine if Nisekoi had this card back in 2014. Imagine if Nisekoi had this card in 2014.
I didn't play in 2014, man. I don't care about Nisekoi.
Being able to search your pendant for 0 stock and having a decently sized attacker back then would have been pretty good. I think a lot of people in chat would be able to vouch for that.
Yeah, they should have played Henology, man. Just rip cards out of the deck whenever they want. So here I had the Akatsuki, and so I can play a Climax, which is pretty useless in my hands. So I can actually attack over at least 1 now.
Yeah. However, it leaves the runner in the back row as a 2k against Sunshine. Do you have any plans or like idea of how you might use that card in a future turn without really wasting it?
No, I don't think so. I think it will just be used as a chump attacker, which is fine because he's got that 1/1 in back row, which is a card that I'm gonna have to chump attack into anyway.
Yeah.
But here notably, I triggered on my first trigger again, which is quite annoying because I'm actually out quite a few now. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nisekoi didn't need to be more broken. I agree.
Nah, needs some help now. Is there another stuff like? Is there another series or something that we can make Nisekoi out of? It's still going in the manga, right?
No, the manga ended ages ago. What are you talking about?
Why not? Let's give him more cards. Why not? What cards are playable? Marika.
Let's move on. You're on 0-6 here?
Yeah, 0-6. So I'll be leveling no matter what.
Yeah.
So this turn, Koucha's pretty much just gonna look into just doing normal standby stuff, just trying to develop his back row, which can then next turn turn into his front row. So cards like the 2/2 Ruby are really good. If you have two standby in your hand, it's really strong to standby the Ruby in the back row, and then next turn spawn the Rico. That's I think the ideal play.
I believe he says he has a standby in his hand here, but chooses not to use it as the 2/2 is the only decent target in his bin, and it feels wasted to play a Climax from your hand if he's going to trigger one down the line anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
And he doesn't mind not getting anything out of them either, because his 1/1s are big enough that Slime most likely won't get rid of them. So, double triggering here probably just gave him the maximum value.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in a deck like Sunshine, triggering standby is just one of the strongest things you can do.
Yeah.
And he chooses to get the level 0 Yoshiko. So I think he did that with intent of trying to work his way into paying out those climaxes for next turn. At least that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Because that 500 assist, I don't really think is doing much. Because it doesn't create better numbers anywhere where there weren't already good numbers.
It would make Chica 9k, which is still 500 lower than Shimakaze Kai plus level 1 combo on a full field from your end. So yeah, that number itself is not particularly good.
Here I can get through my deck without having to clock draw and still have cards, like lots of cards in hand. So I elect not to clock draw here because I don't want to put all that clock back into my deck. But something that I'm thinking about this turn is how am I going to pay out that bottom card, the bottom climax? And there's a few ways of doing it, but there's no excellent ways because I only have one mask. And then with the fairy, I can use it to spawn a card that would pay out stock, but even that doesn't feel like an incredible play. Just an average play. So something that I think I might have done if I'd play this over again would be to just not pay the climax out.
Yeah.
I think that it would just let me. I think it would just allow me to do stronger things this turn. So I still hit on the brainstorm though. So I've got 6 cards in deck, which is 1 glove, 1 combo, and 2 jump attacks to refresh that climax back in, which is okay. But I have that runner still in the back row, and it's not really doing anything. So
yeah, this seems to be the best turn to move it up.
Yeah. So here I get like the semi-alpaca, I think.
Mm. So you decided to pay 3 stock here, and again you're in a scenario where your opponents are more than an entire turn's worth of stock ahead of you are where you are. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like this would affect Slime's game equally as it did when you were playing Sunshine?
I think in Sunshine, well, honestly no, just because of the way I play. I think that I always play a very defensive style of play, so no, I think it's the short answer, but I think you could give a very long explanation onto a probably yes.
Okay. And your turn here at level 1 doesn't seem to be outstandingly strong, but was it worth using the climax last turn to answer your opponent's stuff? You are going second, so you're low on hand. Okay.
I've got a lot of hand here. Yeah. No, I think absolutely. There's no good way of getting rid of the climax in this deck. I'm only running 1 of the slime, which is something that since after this game I've actually bumped up. So but he's taking the damage, which is very good for me.
Mm-hmm. So I think Koucha's going to be pretty set in card advantage and stock for the rest of the game. What's your plan at this point?
It's to just try and with slime. You can treat it as a semi uninteractive deck, as in like you can try and just develop your own compression with trying to ignore your opponent. So cards like the slime in my back row, the fairy, and the level 1 combo all help develop compression. So I think that if you can focus on that, then I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But here I whiffed the level 1 combo. It doesn't go to memory.
Was it better to chump?
Quite annoying.
Was it better to chump the level 1 combo there, or should you have fronted the level 0 in the middle instead of the fairy?
I like leaving that there. It could have been the runner. Oh, sorry, no, couldn't have been the runner. I like crashing the Shizu so that my opponent doesn't get information on stronger attack orders for the next turn.
But
so like if he has the ruby in the back row, so if he attacked over it, just like this made up scenario where attacks over it with a level 1 Chico, and then he has an attack for 2 and an attack for 3, and he can change what he would rather do based on what my top card is.
Yeah, but in this case you chump attacked and revealed what the bottom card of your deck was. So now Koucha can choose to front attack your level 1 with the 1/1 and then attack with the 2/2 on the second attack to make better numbers.
Right. Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I should attack with it first. That was a mistake.
Yeah, or
first or second, I guess. Just not last.
Not last, and if you did want to attack with it last, probably attack the level 0 with it instead of the way you did this time.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yep, that was a mistake. It's really useful being able to go back and watch these games and look on things that you can potentially work on for next time.
Yeah. So interestingly, Koucha has not paid out the 2 climaxes he triggered last turn.
Yeah, he's decided to bury it for the rest of the game, it feels like. Which is not horrible. It's not ideal, of course. It does make stock swap a bit funky. So here looks like he's going to not do that play that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Knowing that the card's climax.
I think Koucha did say that if he used the Yoshiko and saw another Yoshiko off the top 4, he would have done it again. And gone for a stronger refresh, but seeing as he didn't, he just decided to leave the cards there, have a bit more stock, refresh at level 3 like Sunshine often does, and be happy with that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the advantages of playing Slime. That it's a very, very fast deck. It doesn't often hit level 2 in its first refresh.
Yeah. So Koucha does front attack with the 2/2 here. Quite interesting. I believe I would have attacked the 1/1 instead.
Well, yeah, interesting. So this does make 2 direct attacks for 2, which is something that I was talking about last game. So maybe that's something that he sees as well. Just trying to attack for 2/2/2 every turn. Even if the first attacks are cancelled.
You have 3 cards in stock, 7 in damage and clock, 2 memory, I think?
Yes. Oh, 6 cards in clock, but yeah.
6 clock and then 1 in your level zone, so 7 total.
And the marker.
And then the marker. So how good is your compression right now by Slime standards?
It's okay. It's not incredible, it's just... This feels pretty normal. Like, it definitely feels like I haven't had an exceptional game.
Okay.
Refreshing the mask here is pretty bad for me as well, actually. Yeah, the mask is very unfortunate.
And
that's something that you definitely need in your deck.
Yep.
And I already used 1, and I think I only have 1 in my deck now, or even 0.
Would you really want to draw a mask here though? Because you're on 3.
No, I don't want to draw it. Yeah. But you want to bond to it.
Oh, so you just want to be able to play it out of your deck, but as in, if you
that's
do
a really
get to your hand.
If your first deck compression.
Oh no, go. So if you get the event.
So if you're not happy with your compression, right? Wait, you just said for me to go. I'm talking now.
Okay. Yeah, no, you go.
Okay. So your compression can be okay, but then when you play the level 0, it can fix it by quite a lot. And so going Chloe into Chloe is something that I actually quite like, but because I refreshed the event, it's something that I can't do. So instead of taking 4 to 5 cards out of my deck, I'm just taking 2. Just annoying.
So you use the event, so the mask here, to search your deck for 1 stock, but you're starting with 3. There seems to be quite a bit of strain on what you want to do, seeing as you're already on 2/3, where Sunshine's on 1/6? 1/6.
Yeah, 1/6. I never feel bad about using stock if it's for the mask event because it's compression neutral. Like you use 1 stock, but then you kind of get that stock back in like memory.
Yeah. Okay.
So I never really feel bad about using that, and I think that stock is something that I will need. So an option here is to triple chump, and that's a good way of getting stock. I run a 105k that can gain additional stock if I use an act on the turn it's played.
Yeah.
Or just if I use an act, but it's not something that will like be allowed to use in this matchup.
No, not that Koucha has already established his board.
But here is a fine way to get compression. You know.
So
I've used the mask, I've used Chloe, and I'm using the fairy again to try and get more compression.
So
I did use the Shizu. I could have chosen any card because I have the option to side, but this can send itself to Mary by chumping, and also feeds into me being able to early play the Shizu.
Yeah. So trigger pants out of pants to hand. Is that? Would you have chosen to add the daughter hand under any circumstances though?
I don't even have red, so no.
Oh yeah, you don't. Okay.
But that's something that my deck is a little bit different to Koucha's with. He runs a lot more red than I do, and his red, like his level 0 reds, actually send himself to clock. So red not normally an issue for him. Whereas occasionally it can be for this other like more standard build.
Yeah.
My build is based off, it's not the same, but it's based off the build that Hane used in WOC. Hane is in the same team as Rintaro, which is who will be playing next week, if for those who are interested.
Yeah. So back to Koucha here. I believe he says that he has a 2/2 in the back row, which he standbyed out, but wants his damage to stick more, so decides to attack with the 1/1s now. And let them die off if they do get killed. Which is actually better, because if he puts the 2/2s at the front, he does lose opportunities to use the 1/1 later in the game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he is developing more value, and it's good that he also sees that damage is much easier to stick if you're attacking for less. People always talk about precise damage. This is a very good way of getting it.
Yeah.
I think that it's easy to just look at swinging for 2/3/3 plus triggers and say, hey, that's not that bad. But I think this is just a safer play that I think over time will just win you more games.
Yeah. WS is a game where the small things do matter, and this is probably a somewhat intuitive, but something that doesn't come to your mind scenario if you're not playing with your brain turned on.
Yeah. There's not many things you can control in Weiss, so being able to try and manipulate damage to as best you can, very strong thing to do.
Yeah. So Koucha refreshes with 6 because he still hasn't paired up the 2 climaxes, but he has a
His
good amount of
compression is
stock.
okay at the moment.
Yeah, he has a lot of hand and stock. So,
Yeah.
and a full board. I'd say he's pretty happy with where he is right now. And you're somewhat depending on how much you cancel this turn?
Yes. So I'm out 3 at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that if I get good cancels this turn, I think that the game will swing back into my favor. I feel like right now it's not in that favor for me.
So there's a red card that fed into your clock, but
Except that's the only card I would want to play from my hand that's red. Alright. So I've leveled a Brainstormer. There's a Brainstormer in my memory, and now there's a Brainstormer in my clock.
yeah.
So that's kind of showing that I'm not going to be brainstorming at all this game.
Yeah.
Which is actually something I'm fine with. I don't really like. I feel like brainstormers have slowly over time gotten weaker. I feel like they're good if your strategy is very reliant on like chumping every single turn. But I'm at the point now where I won't be doing that anymore. I'm going to start fighting for field.
I'm surprised you clocked there.
Yeah, I had a climax in my hand and I drew another climax for turn. And because of the low count of the level 0 slime, there's no good way of getting rid of climaxes in my hand. So I clock it just so that I can get rid of it. Which in a way kind of is like getting rid of the best part of the healer, which is actually healing.
Yeah. It's quite valuable to be able to
I have a
heal
second
here
one here, which
when you're on
decompresses me, but allows me to continue to fight. Yeah, so I can fight for board now. So these Chicas are tiny.
How many climaxes do you have in your deck? 3? Or do you have one in hand?
It must be 3.
Yeah. So I was thinking...
Yeah, I have one in hand.
You probably didn't need to clock there, and you could have just healed once, played the climax from hand, and then wait another turn. You probably have another opportunity to get rid of the climax in your hand. And even if you don't take this 1 damage when you're on high damage.
Potentially, but it wasn't. It also wasn't that awful to play the 2 level 3s down, because it does mean that I am contesting for board now.
Yeah. So you trigger a pants there.
Yeah, so I trigger a pants. I have a leafer counter in my hand. So what I was thinking is that I can add a climax from here. Get rid of it with the leafer counter. Oh, sorry, I think I have another climax in my hand. I forgot how many climax are in my hand.
Leafer counter, for the record, is like any counter that has the ability, when you use this card's backup, reveal the top card of your deck. If it fits a certain condition, usually a character of a certain trait, add it to your hand and discard one. It's a plus minus. The additional effect is a plus minus 0, so savaging the climax here lets you not have to lose a card, effectively, by doing it. The card you discard is something that you want in your bin anyway, so it's not bad if you discard a climax, given that your opponent does front attack into something.
So the card I grab is not really that relevant. It's just important that my deck is small now. There's one climax in there, one in my stock, and there's another one in my hand.
Board encounter. I don't think Darcy knows what board encounter is.
I do know what a board encounter is. I'm not a Weiss boomer like you guys.
No, the Weiss boomers know what a board encounter is.
No, okay, look, I do know what it is. I have no idea who Borden is or where Borden's from, but I know that's what it's called. I know Leafa, man.
Old memes. So, back to the game. Koucha went up.
Yeah, which I semi-expected. His compression wasn't incredible.
Well, it's Love Life Sunshine compression, so it's rarely great. It's just usually good enough.
Yeah, that's right. I was rereading an article the other day on the previous meta about when Fate was the top dog. It was by Rintaro, and it just mentioned that it didn't really rate Sunshine because all the other decks that were strong could all get compression from stock as well as memory, whereas this one could only potentially get it from stock and no memory, which is quite interesting because it's overlapped even more to the current meta. Just every deck now feels like wants to get memory except for Data Live.
Yeah.
Or Sao, I guess. Yeah.
Well, Sao doesn't make memory aside from the couple of Heathcliffs that he might send to memory, but it does have better ways of putting cards in hand, clock, etc., and deck control. So Sunshine does really fall behind in that department. I
think that Sunshine has really dropped off, unfortunately. I think that all these other decks are just in a much better spot at the moment than Sunshine.
Yeah, it's not in a great spot. It still does everything that it used to do, just not... It's not as effective against the competition. Sadly for Sunshine.
Yeah, I love Sunshine, man. It's alright, I can play in English and it's broken.
Completely different deck, though.
Completely different.
Yeah. So, Koucha still hasn't moved his 2-2 from the back row up.
Do you think he'll move it up this turn? Based on what he's done?
I'm not too sure. I think attacking for 3 there is not bad, but either way, he doesn't really have an opportunity to use the level 0, so I think it's fine to put the level 0 in the front and then move the 2-2 up later. Seeing as the raw number on the 2-2 with the support behind it.
I think actually now would be a great time to direct with the Ruby.
Yeah. Or not. So he just plays over it. So
we definitely need to do a direct attack here first. Because if I do have the counter in hand, the Leafa, I won't be able to put a climax back in my deck.
Yeah.
And I take the damage. So now I can't even use the Leafa counter.
Yeah. Well, you could, it just won't be doing very much.
Yeah, it won't be that great.
It protects your character though, but you can hand on call that anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I can hand on call that and I can counter over this.
Yeah.
Your attack. So I'm not dying this turn, which is cool. Something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Basically next turn is just going to be about healing, because Sunshine's finishing power also is not incredible. It's okay, it's not incredible though.
Yeah.
His Yo Burner is in the waiting room, so doesn't really have a great way of getting that back.
I think. So you said that you might want to heal down because Sunshine doesn't have very much power, finishing power, but Sunshine does have this level 3 standby combo which can burn any number between 1 and 7, depending on what's in the top 9 cards of your deck. Does this not really scare you?
Not really, honestly. I think that the way that Standby Sunshine plays is just more healing than digging for a climax.
Yeah.
So Sunshine has tools to dig for a climax, but normally never elects to run them. And I think with the way that Koucha plays as well, like, he's a very defensive player. I think that you should be able to tell by the way he's played these 2 games, but I don't think it's something that he actively looks for. And also the Mare Drop Searcher. If that card was legal, I think I'd be a lot more scared. But it's on the restriction list.
On the other side of you wanting to heal down next turn, if you take this attack, regardless of what you do, you don't have enough resources to heal more than twice.
No. So I can... But healing twice here is not bad. Puts me down to 3-1, which is not that bad.
No, because you cancel, you can go to 3-1, but if you took that attack instead, you would be on 3-5 or something.
Yeah, look, so I think the game is very unwinnable if I take that attack.
Yeah. So I was thinking, do you have the resources to do the level 3 Milim combo if you get both cards in your hand?
Yes. Yes, technically.
Because he did leave a level 0 in the front row.
It's possible. I would have to have hard drawn it because you saw it go into my clock when I was level 2.
Yeah.
So I would have had to have hard clock drawn into it, which, it's not a great thing to bank on. I'd much rather bank on healing. That's something that I can control.
Fortunately,
whereas clock drawing into this other card is not something I can control.
Fortunately, it does.
This card's actually relevant. The bouncer.
Okay.
We got the bouncer. The bouncer's he has a damage cry on the board, and he's got a strong back row. Both his back row are good. This card could potentially be used later on. But it's not something I want to think about this turn, I think. I'd much rather heal, given the state of my deck.
Yeah. So you retrieve the Leafer counter. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a card that will help me with my game plan of just living an extra turn.
Yeah. However, the die that Koucha standby last turn prevents you from using backups during its battle. Mm-hmm. So you only really have 2 opportunities at most to use it. How do you feel about that?
I pretty much will only have 1 opportunity because I feel like I'd have to crash into this die if I want to deal damage. Leaving me with only 2 characters.
Yeah.
That's just something that you just have to deal with, I think.
Yeah.
It's just, what else are you meant to do if you're trying to live an extra turn? Here I play the 1-0 in the back row. And so the reasoning is, if I decided to crash the slime, level 0, and then he played the bouncer, my Shizu would lose their power and handle call. Which is something that was important with trying to live an extra turn.
So you make 3-2-1 here instead of 2-2-2.
That's and that's just to make sure my cards are surviving.
Yeah.
Triggering a door is not ideal.
I thought you would be more concerned about dealing like the most amount of damage this turn rather than your stuff surviving, as you only really have 1 turn left after this should you survive.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. So, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't think about that. Yeah, so that might have been an ideal strategy. What I do here is just side though and just accept that,
okay,
I just need to live. Not worried about dealing damage, just need to survive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I deal 1 less damage, but it also means I take 1 less damage because I'm not forfeiting an open lane.
Yeah.
So you would have gone 2-2-2 that turn, and just kind of would you have hand on called the Shizu as well?
I think I would have jumped and hand on called the Shizu. You have the hand size, but you're not going to. There's not enough cards in your deck that you're happy to play down with 2 stock on the following turn, seeing as it's going to be a last one anyway.
Yeah, I think that I hadn't thought of that play, to be honest, and I think that I probably would have done that if I got to replay it. So he reveals 2 from the Rico with the top deck. So in English that means you'd be dead, but in Jap format it's a little bit different because the Yo burner is at 1. So it's pretty much, the way I see it is, if you reveal a 3, you can add a level 3, and if it's not a level 3, you can just add a level 0.
But he chooses to refresh here instead.
Yeah,
Pays out of climax as well, so his compression is probably improved rather than him healing down and playing a bunch of level 3s than he normally would have.
Yeah, its compression is about the same, I think, of what his first refresh was.
Yeah. which by Sunshine standards is not bad.
It's okay. Yeah. Oh, it's so sad playing Sunshine now.
So he chooses to front your level 3. Probably plays another level 3 here to just make you use the maximum number of cards to replace your board next turn.
Yeah.
He's thinking of
He just wants to heal down as well.
Yeah.
So, something that I don't run in my list is the level 0 Kanan. I used to run it, like I was trying it, and I found that I never really used its effect. And he's never used it this entire game as well, which makes me question whether how valuable that card really is in this deck. Do you like that card, the level 0 Kanan Saber?
I'm a pretty big fan. I feel like top checking in a deck with minimal deck control is pretty important. It stops you from triggering climaxes on the first attack. It lets you basically encore with cards on the board, so you do kind of gain cards in hand when you trigger a standby. Gives you more options overall, I feel like, rather than the one-off tech choices that you end up playing in its place.
Okay.
So he searches a heal here, but decides that the combo heal is slightly better.
It's the same power, and if you draw a climax the next turn, it's better.
Yeah.
So, fair enough.
What's its power? Do you remember what the 3 cards in your hand are? One of them is a bounce.
Bounce, Leaf counter, and then I don't remember. Oh, I think it's another climax.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I can't remember what the third card is, but I know it's definitely bouncer and counter.
Yeah. Long turn here.
Yeah. Just another heal.
I think that pays out that pays out the climaxes that he triggered quite early on in the game. Puts him down to 3-0. And
this is pretty unwinnable now, I think. I think that he's healed down so much. He's seen the top card of his deck, which is definitely going to be a clean trigger. I think it's very, very hard to come back from this situation.
Oh, do you think it's a clean trigger?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought if you saw a standby on the top, you would. I think it was fine to leave it there. To make
I think
to make a 3.
Probably mill it. So with the leaf counter.
Yeah.
There's a reveal climax.
I think leaving a soul on the top, even if it's a climax, is pretty worth it here because you get to scry on the next one due to Kanan being in the back row. And I don't think Koucha's going to go through enough as his deck that scrying to the bottom is going to make him cancel once more. So, yeah, I would have left a climax on the top there, but you took the damage, so it didn't really matter.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, if you're going for final turn, just want that extra push. That's fair enough to do that.
No, I don't think it's his final turn, but even if it isn't his final turn, it's just that putting the climax to the bottom doesn't really help him cancel anything further down the line.
Yeah.
Like his deck's too thick that you're not going to do that much damage before he dies.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely wouldn't be able to get to a point where his bottom card would become relevant.
Yeah.
Alright, well, so I think something to look at in these games is we both use the same decks, but Koucha won both of them. And so what were the things that I was doing that he wasn't? Yeah. I think salvaging that climax level 2 was too greedy. I agree.
I think it
was.
That was a big one, but I think
so my reasoning was there, but I think that it just wasn't worth it. I think that too opportunistic. I think it was too risky.
Because you ended up clocking a card at level 3 to put it out of your hand, which basically turned off your...
No, are you talking about a different turn? He's talking about where the turn where I was going to refresh, I had 3 cards left in my deck. And I had a climax in my hand and I was going to use with Leaf counter, but I salvaged that climax intentionally.
Wait, you were at level 2 at that point, right? So
Yeah.
wasn't that the card you clocked on the following turn?
Yeah. But
Yeah, I'm saying.
But
that,
the reasoning was that it could just not be in my deck at all. In my hand, or it could just be in the waiting room.
Yeah, but I'm saying the most effective use that you found of the salvaged climax that turn was to clock it, and clocking there was probably not very good.
But the most value of that climax was it being in my deck.
Yeah, so it probably was not. But
not good.
Yeah, I'm still quite sure that you would have benefited a lot more if you used less stock in the early game, and
maybe
put it towards healing or compression or really whatever was most powerful at the time and later in the game. But using it early usually means you don't get to build as much stock for the late game, and it does limit your options quite a bit.
I think that game went too fast for Slime to do what it's best at. I think that if I had extra turns, either a level 1 or a level 2, I think that it would have been better. Because I only got 1 turn at level 2 as well. I don't want to say like relying on cancels or whatever, but I think that part of a strategy to hyper compress, I was unable to do at level 1, and then I was unable to just to do it at level 2. I went from 0-6 to 1-6, and then 2-3 to 3-1. It was just something that I didn't have. Whereas in the first game, Koucha actually had quite a lot of time to develop his climaxes, develop his compression.
I think, although you didn't really get the same amount of time to compress like Koucha did. It's still, if you didn't use the three,
that could have led to a better compression.
Yeah, I think if you didn't use the 3 stock at level 1 when you were at 1-6 and using the brainstorm, you would have had a lot more options. You might have been able to get a brainstorm in your hand later in the game to balance.
Yeah, that's like what I was saying at the time.
Yeah.
Just like kind of just bury the climax and just continue your game plan. Don't take steps back.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind doing. Making these mistakes because I can look at them and reflect on them, and then I won't make the same mistakes again.
So at the beginning of this video stream, I believe I was muted, so I think I do need to reintroduce our guest player just for everyone who didn't hear me, which is everyone on the stream. So if you could get the slide up, please. Yeah. This is our guest player, Koucha at Fukui Pros. His Twitter handle is the one in the blue there. Fukui Pros is probably a team that you have heard about if you follow Japanese Weiss. A pretty big team with players all around the country. And Koucha, being a pretty prominent player even among them, has quite a lot of tops, including the 3 listed here, of which the first one earned him a ticket to Nationals. He's also just a very active player, as you can see from him cooperating with us in this exhibition match.
Well, I already said myself. They could hear me.
Yeah. And you can also follow his Twitter. Everything else is in the description. He also writes for UT just like Kay does. So if you're curious about his articles and want to Google translate them, click the link in the description below. Yeah. If there's any questions from the chat, I would like to address them, but it seems like the only one is the one regarding the climax. Any other remarks from you?
No, I think I'm good. I was happy with the games, how they went at the time, but after looking at them, there's a lot more that I can work on, which is something that I enjoy. I enjoy being able to reflect, so I'll win next time.
Yeah. So I guess aside from that, we would like to announce next week's stream, seeing as I'm not part of it. I believe Darcy should do that.
Yeah, so it's going to be me and Mark commentating, and we're going to have Mark versus Rintaro, which I think is going to probably be the most exciting matchup of the 3 exhibition matches we've been holding. For anyone who's ever been to Australia, if you ask anyone who the best Weiss player is, they'll all say Mark. And then Rintaro might be the strongest player from ShibaChan. The other 2 members are very strong as well, but Rintaro's got a very successful resume and is a part of probably the strongest team, Panga Masters. A very, very exciting matchup. I think we're all looking forward to it. You should expect it exactly the same time next week, Saturday 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and then whatever that equates to in your country.
Yep. Please check our Facebook, Twitter, etc.
But yeah,
further updates.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Please follow me on Twitter.
Follow me as well.
No.
No, just don't worry about it. Anyway, anything else that you want to wrap up with?
No, I'm happy. I'm glad that we're holding this thing. I've seen other people talk about this in either Discords or YouTube videos. I know. I think Ian has mentioned us in a video talking about how he was enjoying this content. We've had lots of positive feedback. So we're happy that you guys are enjoying this. We did this for the community, and we're happy it's thriving. All right.
So yeah, that's it for the night.
That's it for this week. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any other questions, you can DM any one of us and we'll answer them. Other than that, see you guys next week.
Thank you.